This story is called A Pickle for a Nickel. And this book was my book when I was just a little girl, when I was only 3 years old. And it was such a favorite story that I kept this book all my life. And I'm so excited to share it with you. I hope you like it as much as I did. Mr. Benjamin Bumble lived by himself in an old brown house on Roundabout Road. Well, he did not really live there all by himself. He had a parrot. Mr. Bumble liked his parrot very much, but you will not guess why. He liked his parrot because it did not talk. Mr. Benjamin Bumble was a quiet man. He liked everything around him to be quiet too. His clock did not go tick-tock, tick-tock. It went tick-tick-tick. His doorbell did not go ring-ding-ding. It went ding. And his parrot did not talk.
"That's my good Pedro,"
Mr. Bumble told his parrot.
"That's my good, quiet Pedro."
Every morning Mr. Bumble went off to work in his car. His car did not go chug, chug, chug. It went. Every evening Mr. Bumble came home to his quiet house and his quiet parrot Pedro, and Mr. Bumble was happy. Down the road, not far from Mr. Bumble, there was a little white house. For a long time, no one lived there. Then one day, some people came to live in the little white house.
Said
Mr. Bumble.
"I see a man."
Said Mr. Bumble.
"I see a woman." "Oh dear,"
said Mr. Bumble.
"I see a boy. Boys like firecrackers. Boys play cowboys and Indians. Boys like noise."
Mr. Bumble did not meet the boy. Every morning he went off to work in his quiet little car, so there were things Mr. Bumble did not know. He did not know that the little boy was William. He did not know that William was lonely. He did not know that William came up Roundabout Road to see who lived in the old brown house. Mr. Bumble did not meet William, but Pedro did. The parrot sat in his cage at the open window, looking out at the world. "Hello," said William. The parrot said nothing. "Do you want a pickle for a nickel?" asked William. The parrot said nothing. He put his head to one side and looked at the boy. After that, William could not keep away from the parrot. Every day he came up Roundabout Road to the old brown house. Mr. Bumble never did see him, but Pedro did every day. William talked and talked to the parrot. He said all kinds of funny things to Pedro, but Pedro just looked at William and did not say a word. One evening, Mr. Bumble came home from work in his quiet little car and went into his quiet little house. All at once there was a loud cry, "Want a pickle for a nickel?" Mr. Bumble jumped back. Who was in his house? There was another scream, "Pickle! Pickle! Pickle! Pickle for a nickel!" Mr. Bumble ran into the living room. It was Pedro screaming in his cage. Quickly, Mr. Bumble put the cover over Pedro's cage. Now Pedro was quiet again. But poor Mr. Bumble. He was so upset he could not eat his supper.
"Dear me,"
thought Mr. Bumble.
"I hope he is better in the morning."
But in the morning, Pedro screamed, "Jack and Jill went up the hill to get a pickle for a nickel." And in the evening, Pedro screamed, "Yankee Doodle went to town, macaroni, get the macaroni." After that, there was no more quiet for Mr. Bumble. He did not know what to do. Then one morning, Mr. Bumble looked out the window. He looked at the little white house and saw the boy sitting outside all by himself.
"Firecrackers, cowboys and Indians. Boys like noise,"
said Mr. Bumble. Mr. Bumble took the cage with Pedro in it. Then he walked down Roundabout Road just as fast as he could. He walked right up to the little white house. He walked right up to William.
Boy,
Said Mr. Bumble.
do you want a parrot?
William looked at Pedro. He looked at Mr. Bumble. A parrot? Cried William. For me?
I do not want this parrot any more,
Said Mr. Bumble. Are you sure? Asked William. He could not believe it was true. Are you sure?
Oh yes,
Said Mr. Bumble.
I am sure. Pedro talks too much. He was a nice quiet bird. Now he talks and talks. I don't know what's happened to him. Do you want him?
William wanted to say, oh yes, I do. But first he had to do something. He ran into the house. He ran right out again because his mother said, yes, he could have the parrot.
Come,
Said Mr. Bumble.
do you want the parrot?
William wanted to say, yes. But first he had to say something. Maybe Mr. Bumble would not give him the parrot after all. But William had to say it. Mr. Bumble, said William, I didn't know you wanted a quiet parrot. I was the one who made him talk.
You?
Said Mr. Bumble.
Well then,
He said.
you made him talk. Now you will have to keep him. Good day.
And Mr. Bumble walked away as fast as he could, away from the little white house and up Roundabout Road. William ran to the cage and took off the cover. Oh, Pedro, he said to the bird, now you're my parrot. Want a pickle for a nickel? Asked Pedro. Mr. Bumble did not hear him. Mr. Bumble was back in his house, his quiet little house, where the clock went tick and the doorbell went ping. Mr. Bumble was happy again.